They say love makes you blind. But I wasn't blind. I was just hopeful. When Nathan and I got married, he said we'd only stay with his parents for a little while. Just until we save enough, he promised, his fingers laced with mine. That was 3 years ago. I'm still here, still under their roof, still pretending this is a home and not a slow, silent trap. At first, I tried to see the good in it. Free rent, family dinners, support system. But what no one tells you is that when you live with your in-laws, you don't get a support system. You become part of their system. Nathan's mother, Evelyn, was the queen of that system, a woman with a tight smile and tighter rules. To her, I wasn't a wife. I was a guest, one who worked too much, dressed too boldly, and talked too proudly. I'm an interior designer. And I'm good at it. My work has been featured in local magazines. My client list grows every week. I build spaces that make people feel safe, inspired, alive. But inside this house, I've never felt smaller. Every evening, Evelyn sets the table like it's a royal banquet, a casserole in the center, tension on the sides. And every time, without fail, she stabs at my independence with her favorite weapon, tradition. A proper wife should be home more, she said last Thursday, scooping mashed potatoes onto Nathan's plate. Not running around town for clients. Nathan didn't defend me. He never does. Instead, he turned to me and asked, casually cruel, "Who are you meeting today?" I blinked. "The Morley Project, I told you, it's a big install downtown." He hummed, suspicious. Like I was lying. Like I was cheating. Grace and Dana, Nathan's sisters, exchanged looks. "Well, maybe if you dressed a little more modestly, Nathan wouldn't worry so much," Grace added, eyeing my sleeveless blouse like it was a crime. That's when I cracked. "I'm in my own home," I said, sharper than I meant to be. But Evelyn didn't flinch. She just smiled, tight, cold. "Technically, dear, this is our home." That night, I tried once more. I brought up the new housing development across town, the one with the modern lofts and big windows. "Nathan," I said gently, "we should look into it. We need our own space." But he shut me down before I could finish. "Not this again, Amelia. My dad's health isn't great. They need us here." Funny, because 2 days earlier I watched Harold, Nathan's sick father, play 18 holes of golf with his buddies, laughing like a man who didn't have a care in the world. No, this wasn't about family. This was about control, and I was done being quiet. The next time Evelyn mentioned tradition, I met her eyes and said, "I'm not proud, Evelyn. I'm successful. There's a difference." No one spoke after that, but I felt the walls around me grow colder. This house never wanted me to thrive. It wanted to shrink me. And for the first time, I started wondering what it might look like to burn it all down. It started with a compliment, something small, something innocent. We were in the garden after dinner, trying to breathe in fresh air that didn't feel heavy with Evelyn's judgment. Nathan's cousin Ryan was visiting. He smiled at me and said, "You always look so put together, Amelia. Your hair, like something out of a commercial." I laughed, a real one for once. Just for a second, I felt seen. But Nathan saw it too. And he didn't laugh. That night, in the silence of our bedroom, he spoke without looking at me. "Cover your hair." I turned, confused. "What?" He didn't repeat himself, just stared. "If you want to live in this house, cover it. I don't want people staring." There was no religion behind it, no tradition, just jealousy, cold and sharp as a blade. I said no. I said it calmly, firmly. "You're being ridiculous." He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He just turned away and pulled the blanket over his shoulder, his silence louder than anything he could have screamed. The next few days were icy. He wouldn't touch me. Barely spoke. Evelyn kept offering me scarves with an almost smug smile. Grace and Dana gave me pitying glances, like they knew something I didn't. One evening, after yet another tense dinner, Nathan handed me a glass of water with a single white pill. "You haven't been sleeping," he said, Take this. It'll help. I hesitated. He looked at me, softer than before. You're stressed. I just want you to rest. I wanted to believe him. I swallowed. The pill, and then darkness. The next thing I remember was the feeling, not a sound. Not a sight, just the sickening sensation of something missing. My hand flew to my head. My hair, my long dark waves that I'd taken years to grow, was gone. What was left barely brushed my ears. It was jagged, uneven, violated. I stumbled to the mirror and screamed. Evelyn appeared at the door, holding a coffee cup like it was just another morning. She didn't flinch at my sobs. She sipped and said, "Oh dear, trying out a new style, are we?" I spun toward her, shaking. He cut my hair. She tilted her head and smiled. "It'll grow back. Maybe now you'll listen." I collapsed onto the floor. My reflection stared back at me, unfamiliar and broken. I looked like a stranger, stripped of softness, stripped of power. Nathan didn't say a word. He ate breakfast. Like nothing happened. Toast, jam, sip of juice. As if he hadn't mutilated me in the night. He thought cutting my hair would make me smaller. Tamer. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. I didn't go to work the next morning. I couldn't. I stared at my reflection, at the uneven chunks of hair, at the hollowed look in my eyes, and I knew I couldn't walk into a meeting and pretend everything was fine. I couldn't design warmth and beauty when I felt stripped, violated, humiliated. So I called in sick. First time in years. And then I drove. Nowhere at first, just streets and turns and red lights I barely registered, until my hands found their way to Tessa's driveway. She opened the door before I could even knock. One look at my face, and she didn't ask questions. She just pulled me into her arms and let me cry. I think I'm going crazy, I whispered, my voice trembling. I don't even know who he is anymore. Tessa didn't interrupt. She waited, until I had nothing left but silence. Then she pulled me to the couch, made tea, and looked me straight in the eyes. "Amelia, what Nathan did, cutting your hair like that, that's not just jealousy. That's abuse." I opened my mouth to protest, but she held up a hand. "No, don't sugarcoat it. Don't protect him. You need to start documenting everything. Now, before it gets worse." The word abuse echoed in my chest like a stone dropping into water. Abuse. That word was for bruises, for screaming fights and hospital visits, not for whispered control. Not for stolen sleep and scissors in the night, except it was abuse. All of it. The isolation, the interrogation, the shame. And it was working. Because for months I'd been shrinking, doubting my worth, second-guessing my instincts. That house wasn't just draining me, it was erasing me. "I think he's trying to ruin my life," I muttered, half to myself. Tessa didn't flinch. She reached for her phone, opened her email, and pulled up a message. "Then you need to see this." She handed it to me. It was from one of our shared clients, the Morrison Project. "Your husband called last week," the message read. "He said you were under a lot of stress and asked if we could delay or cancel the project. It felt off, just wanted to check in." I stared at the words, disbelief crashing into fury. He had gone behind my back, lied to my clients, tried to cancel my work, my livelihood. "Wait," I said, heart pounding. "That's not the only one." I opened my calendar, 4 appointments, canceled with no reason, emails I'd never seen, replies I hadn't sent. "I thought they were reschedules," I whispered. Tessa shook her head. "He's sabotaging you." It got worse. She leaned in. "You know the Peterson account? Her mother is in Evelyn's bridge club. Apparently, Evelyn's been telling people you're sleeping with one of your clients." The room spun. My hands trembled as I clutched the mug. My throat was tight. I couldn't breathe. My reputation, my career, my name. They were poisoning all of it, and I had let it happen because I trusted him. Because I believed that love made you safe. But this wasn't love. This was surveillance, gaslighting, destruction. This was control. And something deep inside me finally snapped into place. No more pretending. No more hoping he would change. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to fight back. I waited until Sunday morning. Every week, the family left for church at exactly 9:30 a.m., dressed in pastels, smiling at neighbors, pretending they were saints. But I knew better now, and I wasn't wasting another second hoping things would fix themselves. I had already ordered the hidden cameras, discreet, motion-triggered, cloud-connected. While they were out, I planted them in the living room, kitchen, and bedroom. 3 hours later, I had eyes on everything. I didn't have a plan yet, but I knew one thing. The truth wouldn't stay buried anymore. By Tuesday, the footage started rolling in. It was worse than I thought. The first clip was Evelyn. She walked into our bedroom like it belonged to her, opened my drawers, and sifted through my underwear like she was folding laundry. She paused at a jewelry box I had inherited from my mother, opened it, took something out, examined it, then tucked it into her apron. The next day, Dana wandered in while I was in the shower. She went straight to my nightstand, picked up my phone, unlocked it. How did she know the code? And scrolled through my messages like it was routine. Then came Grace. She opened my closet, found my passport folder, and snapped a photo of my ID, then my design license, then a document with my client list. She even smiled while doing it. But the worst? Nathan. He was in the kitchen with Evelyn, speaking in that low, hushed tone he only used when he was lying. She was on a call with someone named Tessa for over an hour last night, he said. Evelyn didn't even blink. I told you she's pulling away. You need to bring her back under control. She's been quiet lately, Nathan replied. She's planning something. Then Evelyn leaned closer to him, her voice so soft I almost missed it. She's still too independent. Maybe we take her finances next. Remember how well that worked with Monica? I froze. Monica. That name hadn't come up before. But the way Evelyn said it, like it was a weapon, sent chills down my spine. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I searched through my old inbox, deep in the archive folders I hadn't opened in years. I typed the name, Monica, and there. It was an email from nearly a year ago. The subject line read, "If you're with Nathan, you need to read this." My hands shook as I opened it. Hi, Amelia. I saw your photo in a design magazine. I recognized Nathan instantly. I don't want to intrude, but I need to warn you. What they did to me started with whispers. Then came the isolation. Then the sabotage. Evelyn went through my belongings. Nathan canceled my clients. Grace spread rumors. By the time I realized what was happening, they had destroyed my business, my credit, and my mental health. I fled. I live in Arizona now, alone but free. Please, be careful. Monica, my blood ran cold. Every single thing she described, they were doing it again. To me, it wasn't paranoia, it was a pattern. I emailed Monica back immediately. She responded. Within the hour, and for the next 2 days we talked, in messages, then in whispered late-night calls. Her story mirrored mine like a haunting echo. The control, the gaslighting, the financial sabotage, even the haircut. They cut my hair too, she said. After I told Nathan I wanted to leave, he drugged me, then chopped it all off. I nearly dropped the phone. How many others? How long had this family been operating like this, grooming women, then breaking them down? But not me. Not this time. This time, I had evidence, I had backup, I had names, and I had Monica. The proof that I wasn't alone. They wanted to isolate me. Instead, they gave me an ally, and they were about to learn exactly what happens when the woman you tried to break decides she's going to fight back. Remember that charity donation Evelyn kept bragging about? Monica said one night, her voice low over the phone. The one she claimed was for the children? It never went to the charity. I sat in stunned silence. She used the donation as a front. Harold funneled the money into an offshore account. I worked in the family office. I saw the transfers. I was too scared to speak up back then. but I kept copies. I didn't know what shook me more, the fact that they'd weaponized kindness, or that Monica had carried this truth alone for so long. She sent me the files, bank statements, transfer logs, shell company registrations under Evelyn's maiden name. It was all there. They weren't just manipulators, they were criminals. And suddenly, I had more than emotional abuse. I had a nuclear weapon. I spent that entire weekend assembling a dossier, screenshots, footage, Monica's documents, client communications, timeline logs. Then, I sent it anonymously to one of their biggest clients, a nonprofit organization that Evelyn proudly claimed to support. 3 days later, the storm hit. It started with a knock at the office, men in suits, clipboards, laptops, quiet but relentless. Auditors. Watched from across the street, tucked behind a tinted cafe window, as Evelyn greeted them with her usual sugary charm, and then slowly lost color as they opened their files. By noon, half the staff had been sent home. By 2, Harold had been escorted out. Back at the house, the air was thick with confusion, panic. I could hear Grace on the phone whispering, "They're going through everything." I said nothing. I just packed 1 suitcase, 1 hard drive, 1 thick envelope addressed to my lawyer. At sunset, Nathan burst into the bedroom, his face red, his hands shaking. "What the hell did you do?" I zipped my suitcase calmly. He slammed the door behind him. "You triggered the audit, didn't you? You've ruined everything." I turned to face him. "Ruined? No, Nathan. I just revealed what you already were," he scoffed. "You think anyone's going to believe you?" I smiled and pulled a small device from my purse, one of the cameras. "I don't need them to believe me. I have it all, on camera, and so will the court." The bedroom door flew open. Evelyn stood there, pale as bone. "They're seizing our files," she whispered. "The accountant's turned. He's saying everything's traceable." I walked past her, envelope in hand. "Good." Nathan grabbed my arm. "You ungrateful little..." I yanked free, threw the envelope onto the bed and said, "Those are divorce papers." His mouth fell open. "Oh," I added, pausing in the doorway. "And Monica says hi." Their faces, the horror, the shock, the realization that their years of lies had finally caught up, was more satisfying than I could have imagined. The empire crumbled fast. Nathan was sentenced to 6 years for financial fraud, money laundering, and obstruction. Harold got 7. Evelyn? She was never formally charged, but her reputation? Gone. Grace's country club revoked her membership. Dana's fiancé called off the wedding. Apparently his family didn't want to be connected to criminals. The Bentley was sold. The designer? Handbags disappeared. Evelyn, Grace, and Dana moved into a modest 2-bedroom condo across town. No staff, no invitations, no audience. And me? I didn't just walk away. I walked away with proof, with power, and with peace. They tried to erase me. Instead, I erased them. Miami smelled like salt water and second chances. When I stepped off that plane, I wasn't just changing cities. I was shedding skin. My hair had started to grow back, stronger, shinier, longer than before. It wasn't just hair, it was proof. That even the parts of me they tried to destroy could come back even more beautiful. Tessa helped me settle in, and Monica flew in for the first week. We celebrated on the beach with cheap wine and laughter that didn't feel forced. I could breathe again. I opened a new design firm within 2 months, this time on my own terms. No one breathing down my neck, no husband undermining my clients, no family sabotaging my calendar. I focused on a niche that hit closest to my heart: women's shelters, trauma recovery spaces, and safe homes for survivors. Every room I designed told a story of healing, of dignity, of freedom, and soon people noticed. A major design magazine featured one of my shelter projects. The interviewer asked, "What inspires your work?" I smiled and said, "Destruction can be loud. But rebuilding? That's where the real power is." Evelyn tried reaching out a few months later. Blocked. No explanation, no hesitation, just a tap of my finger, and her voice, the one that used to echo through my nightmares, was gone for good. The last I heard, she was working part-time retail. Grace, too. Dana went back to living with her mother, licking her wounds after her broken engagement. As for Nathan, I didn't waste a second watching his sentencing. My lawyer texted me the outcome. 6 years, no chance of early parole. I didn't. Smile. I didn't cry, I just closed the message and got back to work. Some people think revenge is fire and fury, but sometimes it's peace. It's waking up with sunlight on your skin and no fear in your chest. It's reclaiming your name, your voice, your body, your life. I don't look back often, but when I do, it's not with regret, it's with pride. They tried to erase me, but I rebuilt, and I made sure the world knew the truth, because abuse doesn't always come with bruises. Sometimes it arrives dressed as tradition, as silence, as for your own good, but silence is where it thrives, and silence is meant to be broken. So if you're listening to this, and you're still living in that house, still shrinking to make someone else feel big, hear this. You are not crazy, you are not alone, and you are not powerless. You have the right to rebuild. And when you do, build something no one can take from you again. I did, and I never looked back.